I'd like you to turn back to page 7 in your book. We're going to look at a thing called transposition, and we need this for the next stage, and so that's why I've sort of left that up until now. But this is a basic skill which is actually one of the most challenging skills that we'll have to do in this course. And so we'll go through it, and hopefully you'll remember the rules that I go through with you and come back to this video and come back to page 8 particularly, which will be the examples that we will go through. So what transposition means is that what we're going to do, instead of having y equals something, we're going to rearrange it so maybe x might become the subject or another letter depending on what was in the formula. So transposition means rearranging equations so that an alternative variable becomes the subject. So instead of it being y equals, say, 3x plus 2, we're going to turn it around so that we'll make it x equals. So on the bottom of page 7, it's a really difficult transposition. So I'm not actually going to go through this example because I think it's way too challenging for the level of what you need to know. So what I will do is go on to the next screen, and you'll be able to go through these examples and remember the steps. So I'm going to write the steps down on the right hand side, and I want you to copy those as we go along. And so then you can come back to these, put them on your formula sheet, so in a test you've got them there ready to go. So we've got these examples. Let's look at the first one. We've got y plus 3x minus 5 equals 0, and we're going to make y the subject in this case. So that means you need to have a look at all the things that are on the same side as the equation as y, and they are the plus 3x and the minus 5, and we're going to move them all over to the other side of the equation. So then it becomes y equals something. So how do we go about doing this? We have to look at those things that are first added or subtracted to our subject. And so our subject is what we're looking at. We're trying to look at y equals. Okay. So in this case, we have something that's added, and we also have something that's subtracted from that y. Okay. So we have to move that all over to the other side. So let's go through that example. So let's follow the y down. So it becomes a plus 3x on this side. So when we take it over to the other side, what we do to one side, we must do to the other side. So we're going to take it away. So when we take it over to the other side of the equal sign, we must change the sign. So when we do that, it becomes minus 3x. So if we move that one first, we're left with y minus 5 equals negative 3x. Let's take over the minus 5 next. It's a minus 5 on this side, so when we move it over to the other side, we must change the sign. An opposite of a minus becomes a plus 5. And there is the answer, y equals minus 3x plus 5. So the first rule is anything that is added or subtracted to our subject, take over and change the sign. If you don't change the sign, you'll get completely the wrong answer. It's really important. Now, if you can do this step all in one go, okay, I'm very happy for you to do that. For example, it would look like this all in one go. Y equals, we're taking it over, so it's changing the sign to minus 3x, and then we're going to change the sign to plus 5. Okay, it just takes away one more step, but if you can't do that in one go, I'm very happy for you to do that as you go. So that's our first example where they're added or subtracted. So make sure you copy that down or pause the video because I'm going to erase that now. So let's have a look at this example here. We're going to make y the subject as well. But if we have a look at it, we've got a plus 5x minus 6 on the same side of the equation, and we've also got this number 2, which is multiplied to the y. So there are steps. Just like in the other one, we did the addition or subtraction and took it over to the other side of the equal sign first. Okay. The second step, so we would take this over first. And then the second step is there anything that is multiplied or x is divided by that goes over second? So that would be the 2. So we must take those over first, and then we must do the multiplication second. And when we take them over, we must remember to change the sign. It's highly important. So let's do that. So copy down the 2y. We're going to take the minus 6 over first, and so we change the sign when we do that, and it becomes a positive 6. The next step is I'm just going to take the plus over, so it doesn't matter the plus or the minus, whichever one you want to go through first, and change the sign when I take that over. Becomes 6 minus 5x. And then the next step is anything that is multiplied or is divided by. In this case, we've got 2 times y. So to take that over, this is something new, we must divide everything by 2. So then that will cancel out to just y. 6 divided by 2 makes 3. And minus 5 divided by 2 makes 2.5 x. And then I'm going to put that in a form where we always put our number term at the end and our x term at the beginning. And so now it's in a form that we can recognise like one of our general equations, our gradient and our y-intercept, as this example is showing. So this is transposition, making y the subject. You must remember these steps. Addition or subtraction goes first, and when you take them over to the other side of the equal sign, you must change the sign. Then the second step is that anything that is multiplied or divided to our subject, in this case the 2, we take them over. And then the third step is rearrange, if required, to have the letter term first. So in this case our letter term is an x, okay, but that could be a b or a y or a z or any other letter. Okay, let's have a look at the next example. On the right hand side there, we've got 2x plus half y equals 9. So we have to highlight all those things that need to move over, so we're just left with y. So we've got plus 2x we're taking over, and we've got half multiplied to the y that we've got to take over. So which one comes first? The 2x, or do we take over the half? Hopefully you guessed it right. It's the added term because it tells us over here to add. So we're going to take the add over and take it away from the other side. And then our next step is we've got that half y, which we're going to take over. So let's do that. So I'm going to copy down all the things that are staying in the same spot. And we're going to move this over. Plus 2x. When it goes over to the other side, it becomes a minus 2x. And then the next thing that we have to do is we have to take over this half term. So another way that that could be written is 0.5. Okay, so it might be a little bit easier to deal with. So it's 0.5 times y, so it's a times. So to take it over the other side, we must divide everything by a half. So then that will cancel out, leaving our y. So 9 divided by a half equals 18, minus 2 divided by a half, which is 4, and then carry the x down. So we're now at the point where we're up to rearranging. We're up to this point here. And so we're going to rearrange it so that we have our letter term first. So it's minus 4x, don't forget your sign like I nearly did, plus 18. So if we were looking at that, just practicing our general equation for a line, our gradient is minus 4 and our y-intercept is plus 18. And we've now made y the subject. So that's some examples of transposition, which we're definitely going to be using in the future. So let me just find where that is in your book so you can have a practice at doing some of that transposition. Okay, go to page 34. And I want you to have a go at all of these. They are challenging, and you need to make y the subject. And if you can do those, have a go at 15. This time they're a little bit different on page 34. Instead of x's and y's, they're just d's and t's and s's and things like that. But remember your rules that we learnt here on the left-hand side of your page.